Oh my gosh, and it carries on. So yeah, I actually, when I started uploading that last video and everything, I looked up another couple of things on the subject of imagination, and so just to kind of shortcut it, because it's a new video, it doesn't mean false, it doesn't mean not real. Imagination is the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects. Imagination is the production of sensations, feelings, and thoughts informing oneself. And imagination helps apply knowledge to solve problems. It's critical for understanding the world. So, when you sit there next time and you're like, oh, is that just my imagination? Well, here's hoping. Look up the words that you're using. It is really helpful and it is really beneficial, like the dictionary has been, the dictionary has been just so good for me and being able to understand everything I'm channeling and have written about and the whole lot, which brought into question one day, who wrote the dictionary? How do words get in the dictionary? Let's talk about that language and let's talk about words first, There's this language that's constantly going on inside of you and it's operating all the time, never not operating. And it's the same as your heartbeat, it's the same as your digestive system, your lungs, they're operating whether you're thinking about them or not, Like if thought creates reality, I didn't have to think about I didn't have to think about digesting my breakfast this morning, like I just had to decide what's on the menu. And, knowing me, it was probably a big menu, but anyway, good breakfast, I mean. So, yeah. So there's something else that's taking care of that, There's something else taking care of your heartbeat. There's something else taking care of your digestive system. There's something else taking care of your breathing. And also there's this language that's operating all the time and never not operating, And so you have these moments where you think the phone's going to ring and then it does, and all of these intuitive moments, That's when you become conscious of this, Like, when you first came to Earth and that, you didn't even know that you had a heart in that, you heard it somewhere along the way. Someone said, you've got this heart inside there and it's sustaining your life and it's pumping blood through your body and everything. And if you hold your wrist or, or here, you can feel it beat in that, like to know it's there. And we do that sometimes, and then we get into breath work or meditation and things like that with our breathing and that, and we become at one with our breathing. But that's still going on even when we're not thinking about it, There's something sustaining your life while you're caught up in the illusion of the out here, okay? Which is very real, don't get me wrong. We're going to cover off a lot of subject matter around that as well. And so all of that combined, whether it's our heartbeat, our lungs, our digestive system, the language running through us, all of that is the nature of ourselves, And what science did is it compartmentalized that into physics and chemistry and biology, and language is also in there, And so what I came to discover in me, I came to realise was in each and every one of us, and there's certain ways in which that operates where there's that common ground and common thread, and those are the things I seek to share with everybody, and hopefully in that endeavour enable you to start questioning things a little bit more about the ways in which you're perceiving your experiences, moving through them, creating them, all of that, So looking forward to that journey. So anyway, back to imagination. Very cool. So when we're talking about the sixth sense, because I wanted to come back to that too. Yeah, I would say that that is the place and space where I receive all the information that I do about each and every one of you and your readings and that, Readings are kind of weird, like the irony of them. Like we go off to a psychic because we want to get some answers and that, but the only way in which anyone's going to decide that I'm a psychic is the fact that they already knew that information to start with, Like I'm really just telling people what they already know. Somebody said to me one day, what makes your answers right? And I was like, that'll be the credibility that you feel them with, That's what makes anything right, whether it's something that we hear or something that we read or, it either clicks with you or it doesn't. It either makes sense or it doesn't, And what I learned a long time ago is maybe it was just that desire to be understood or, to understand the processes that I was moving through and everything and the experiences that I was having and that. All of the ideas around spirituality and that I was very, very challenged by actually, because I think it's because of the way in which I came into this, where I didn't have that desire and go up and learn about anything, And then I saw people that were meditating and they were eating well and they were, had all these practices and were so disciplined. And then, I had to question for a while, and I just like, man, I was like a really lazy spiritual person, But I was free of beliefs because I didn't know any of them, and I think that spiritualism is a belief system like any other belief systems out there, where it's got rules and limits and boundaries because it's got rights and wrongs, And I think if I believed I had to meditate twice a week, or believed that there was somewhere to get to, or believed I needed a circle of protection, or whatever those beliefs are, sit by a full moon once a month, whatever, to be able to do this, then I wouldn't be able to do this without those things because I believe them to start with, So, first and foremost, look at what beliefs you're creating that are causing limitations. Where it's causing limitations with the freedom that can otherwise be had with that connection to your inner world, your inner self, and where you can be more conscious of, where you can choose to tap into that, You don't have to kind of just have an experience happen one day and then not know why it happened or how to get another one. This is how to get another one, And what I learned a long time ago was it didn't matter, how much proof I gave people or whatever. It's and it confused me in the beginning. Like, I have friends going, oh, well, if you're all so psychic, then what am I thinking at the moment? And it used to annoy me because I didn't know what they were thinking in the moment and that, And I didn't know how I couldn't know that, but then I could tell them what they've done in the last 2 days, Like, this took a lot of figuring out, for the record. And but I figured it out by virtue of my own fumbling through and having the experiences that I had and everything, Anything that you believe in, though, is going to have rules and limits and boundaries because it's going to have rights and wrongs, I sat there with a friend one day and we're having a wine and that, and she says to me, oh, I wanted you to tap in and tell me about my work and that, like I've got some problems with work, and I go, oh, yeah, no, I'll take a look at that, not a problem. And she was like, oh, no, because we're having a drink, And I was like, it's okay, get slurred thought, Like, I don't know, we just make it all so much harder than it needs to be, when it really is just about the rediscovering of ourselves, the relationship that we have with ourselves, Like, I remember back in the 90s, there were all these motivational speakers out there, like, think positive, like, thought creates reality. For the record, it does, because that's been scientifically proven, but, that's where all that, importance on thinking positive and the ways in which that would impact your life, and that there was just this kind of huge thing about it. Kind of annoyed me a bit because might be all good in theory, but how are you going to set out tomorrow to think positive when you didn't set out yesterday to think negative to start with? I think what's going to happen is you're going to go out there in the world tomorrow, and every time you have a negative thought, you'll kick yourself or pull yourself up, or thinking's not something that we're deciding in that, it's something we're expressing more so, and it's almost like it's about being aware of the thinking, not being able to decide it. And if you want to be a positive thinker and impact your reality in those ways, then that's about having a good relationship with yourself. If you've got a good relationship with yourself, then you just will think positively. If you're a negative thinker, then you got some tidying up to do, and compassion goes a long way there for ourselves, Like it's not a easy world to live in, like I'm not going to sit here and talk you into rainbows and unicorns or anything. It's tough out there, and we're all in this together, and world's in a bit of a precarious place at the moment in these times that we're in, and there's not the solid certainty that for where things are headed that we used to be able to have the security of not so long ago, but the better we can build that connection with ourselves, and learn and engage with ourselves and experience ourselves at a different layer, and because I sit there in readings and I'm just in awe at times, like the brilliance of the ways in which people create the experiences that they do and move through them and everything. Like, I can see people's potential when they can't even see that for themselves, and it's like, we're pretty amazing, when you start to engage with the self at this layer. It's not when I get to there, like, you've already got all of this going on. There's not one of you that haven't had an experience in your past that like knowing something before it's happened, or sensed a spirit, or, we've all got this going on. It's not just some gifted people, or, it's a fundamental nature of ourselves, and when we can start connecting at that level, we can start really making sense of ourselves and understanding who we are, and engaging with ourselves in a new way, finding a love for that engagement, all the better off we will all be. So, how words get in the dictionary? Still a little bit more talking on that. Okay, so there is a panel of about 200 people, and their job is to go out there in the world. They're called dictionary editors. They go out there in the world and they keep their ear to the ground, and they listen to any new words that are coming out, And I think they get together about once a year and they take a vote, and whatever words kind of come to the fore and get the biggest vote then warrant going into the dictionary. And so, because I referred to it so much, I was like, who wrote the dictionary anyway? But we're usually using the right words and everything. We're just not understanding that, and so are other people. And I think when you look up things in the dictionary, and that has a very objective statements, like they're not good or bad, it just says what it means. So that's been incredibly helpful for me. I'm probably going to harp on about it a little bit in these videos. All right, well, I'm going to sign off on another one now and start a fresh subject next time. See you soon.